Hi, this is Anthony McMullen, co-chair of the Arkansas Bar Association's Mock Trial Subcommittee, and this is an orientation for timekeepers who will be participating in this year's competition. The purpose of this orientation is simply to provide a brief overview of the duties of timekeepers. Of course, what we're asking you to do is not particularly difficult, but we want to go over the rules that you need to know to carry out your duties in the competition. Anyone who will serve as a timekeeper at any point in the competition must watch this video before they will be able to serve as a timekeeper. Each team must have a timekeeper. If your team doesn't have a timekeeper, your team can still compete. However, you will be stuck with the opponent's timekeeper, and you'll have to defer to whatever that person is doing with respect to the time. If you want more information on timekeeping, you should refer to Rules 1.4 and 4.6 of competition. Those rules govern the competition, and while this overview should be consistent, to the extent that there is any inconsistency between this orientation and the rules themselves, the rules are going to be what prevail. Your required materials are a stopwatch or a timer, and preferably two if you have available, and time cards with the intervals on the screen marked. If you've competed in the competition in previous years, you'll notice that we are including more time cards this year in an effort to give teams more information about the amount of time that is remaining. So be sure that you have the additional time cards that you see on the screen. These are the only time cards that you can use. Therefore, you cannot use any time cards with any intervals that are not mentioned on the screen. During competition, your job is to fairly and accurately keep and report the time during trial presentation, as a timekeeper would. As a timekeeper, you are to remain neutral. You are not to communicate with your team during any part of the trial, including any recesses. The only communication that you can have with your team is regarding how much time is available during any particular part of a trial. In a virtual competition, as a timekeeper, you should have your own computer, and that computer should be muted and with the camera off while you are doing your timekeeping duties. You will announce time by typing the time in chat, and if asked to do so by the presiding judge or the competitors, you should also turn on your camera and display the time in the camera. With respect to the trial segments are as follows. Both sides will get 5 minutes for their opening statements. Both sides will get a total of 25 minutes for the direct and redirect examination, a total of 20 minutes for cross and recross examination, and then 5 minutes for their closing arguments. Regarding the direct examinations and cross examinations, teams may divide the 25 or 20 minutes between the three witnesses however they wish, but they have to be careful. A team could use 8 minutes for each witness on direct examination, or they could devote 15 minutes to one witness and 5 minutes to the other two witnesses. However they do it, it can go no longer than 25 minutes. With respect to each individual time segment, unused time does not carry over. This means that if a team only uses 2 minutes for its opening statement, the remaining 3 minutes are not added somewhere else in the competition. Time runs from the beginning of the act until it's over. So whenever you start your timer, you should be listening for a cue, something like the plaintiff rest, defendant rest, or nothing further. Some words indicating the end of that person's presentation. Time only stops for the following things: objections, questions from the judge, administering the oath, or in a virtual competition, if someone disconnects. Of course, if someone disconnects, we don't want the clock running, and so if you notice someone disconnect, stop your clock immediately to make sure that they don't lose that time. Except for these reasons, the clock runs continually. This means that if a lawyer takes time to think during an examination, the clock still runs. If the lawyer is taking time whenever he or she is introducing an exhibit, the clock still runs. You only stop the time for the 4 reasons that you see on the screen. Again, objections, questions from the judge, administering the oath, and disconnects. When it comes to keeping time, both timekeepers should be showing time cards based on their own independent timing. This means that every time someone is performing, they should see 2 cues for their time. One from the plaintiff's side or the prosecution side, and one from the defense side. After each phase of the trial, timekeepers should compare their notes. They should do so in private chat. If there's a difference of more than 15 seconds, the timekeeper should inform the presiding judge of the difference. At that time, the presiding judge will resolve the dispute, and the timekeepers should adjust their times accordingly. Do not worry if there's a difference of less than 15 seconds. If the difference is less than 15 seconds, let it go. And then, once the trial is over, no one is going to be permitted to dispute the time. Therefore, if there is an issue with the amount of time that is remaining, it needs to be raised during trial. Finally, once the trial is done and the judges have scored the parties and turned in their score sheets, the judges will have 10 minutes to give critiques to both sides. You should be there to time that critique. Now, that being said, while we ask the judges to limit their critiques to 10 minutes, most of the time the judges are going to go over and they're going to ignore your time signals. If it happens, don't worry about it. Don't interrupt them. Just let it go. But do be available and do be there to time the critiques. And again, they have 10 minutes for that period. So once again, thank you for watching this timekeeper orientation, and thank you for your participation in the mock trial competition. We hope you have fun. Take care.